Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our weekly webcast called The Leader's Edge. We are here tonight with a special guest, Miss Vivian Cruz. She comes to us tonight with a great topic called Managing Organizations During a Crisis. So tonight, Miss Vivian will share to us some guidelines for leaders in these current situations. I'm going to tell you a little bit background about Miss Vivian. Vivian Cruz is a senior business leader with exposure in selected Asian market. Vivian Cruz has been in the field of human resources function for more than 2 decades. A versatile in her field of competence, she has in-depth knowledge and skills in all facets of the function. Talent acquisitions, talent management development and retention, total rewards, talent engagement, organization development, human capital management system, employer branding, employee industrial relations, corporate social responsibility, and stakeholder management, to name a few. Prior to venturing Miss Vivian into consultancy, she was connected with Royal Caribbean Cruises as the HR Director for Asia Pacific, AES as Asia HR Business Partner, and was the Assistant Vice President for Manufacturing HR for the Ramcar Battery Group. She completed her certification program in project management in Asian Institute of Management, a strategic leadership coach in line via Columbia University, and certified HAY, which is a job evaluation methodology practitioner. She is also an IECL, Institute of Executive Coaching and Leadership, certified organizational coach. Off work, Vivian is an active civic organization and is presently a volunteer of Bahay at Yaman ni San Martin de Porres in Bustos, Bulacan, and the president of BYSMP, Blessed the Children Foundation in Tondo, Manila. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Vivian Cruz. Okay, ulitin ko lang yan. In 5, 4, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Vivian Cruz.
Hi, Rak. Good evening and good evening, everyone. Okay, and thank you for joining us in this session.
Hello,
So
Miss
how tonight?
How are you, Miss Vivian?
Good. I think we are already adjusting, no, to the new norm. So, and it's good to see you again.
Miss Vivian, you have a very interesting topic for leaders tonight. No, it's managing organizations during crisis. So, Miss Vivian, would you tell us a little bit about your topic?
Yeah. At this time, no, although we are trying to adjust with the new norm, as we call it, we are still in a crisis. No, this is what we call the pandemic crisis at the moment. No, and this topic will help our organization manage through the crisis to be able to cope and thrive. No, so we will be talking here about the stages, no, in terms of coping with crisis, because we cannot do everything at the same time because there are a lot of uncontrollable events, no, that we also need to manage. So this will guide us through the leaders, no. This will help guide the leaders through managing the crisis. And of course, during a crisis, our people are looking at us as leaders. Okay, they're trying to understand what our behaviors would be, what the directions would be coming from us, no. And so we also would like to give some tips, no, okay, to the leaders on how to make sure that we keep the morale, no, of our people in time of crisis.
Interesting. So, can we share your slides now, Miss Vivian, so we could, we could know more about and how we strategize in this time of needs.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Vivian, you can share it now.
Yeah, so can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see your slide, Miss Vivian.
What happened? Okay, wait.
Take two. Okay lang tayo kahit ilang take ka. Si Sir Nelson, nung in-interview ko, ang daming take. Napaka-camera conscious pala ng lalaking yun.
So now you can see the slide. Okay, move lang natin.
Sige po.
So again, good evening, no? Good evening, everyone. So as I mentioned to you, no, We are still in crisis at this time, although we are trying to adjust already, slowly by slowly. Uh, we could never deny the fact that the organizations we are in is facing a crisis. And in fact, when I speak to a lot of CEOs right now, the problem really is how to sustain the business operations. No? In fact, they're calling it survival mode. So, but I hope we can cope, and thrive so that we can still emerge as victorious as possible, after the pandemic crisis. So when we talk about crisis, I just would like to share with you, that crisis is a result of unforeseeable consequence or event which cause negative to an organization, to a group of people. No? So we cannot consider it a crisis if it's a positive thing. So any negative incident that happened to an organization and even to the family, we can call it as a crisis. And just to share with you that crisis is not something new to us. So if you look at the history in the businesses, in the business world, okay, you will already know that crisis exists in the past. So I don't know if you're born already, in the 1980s, but when I was a kid or I was a child, the famous brand for headache, medicine for headache is Tylenol. Okay, and we were all caught by surprise that Tylenol was recalled in the US, and was banned from being sold across the globe. And what's the reason behind? Because of the poison. So there were a group of people that were poisoned when they took Tylenol, which is an over-the-counter medicine. And what had happened during that time? When they did the investigation, they found out that there was a group of people who put cyanide inside the capsule. Okay, and while it was a crisis to Tylenol, that they almost pack up, they were bankrupt. Okay, so it also gives light to a certain regulations in terms of how to manage over-the-counter medicines. So that's the reason now that when we now buy capsules, it's either pack or if it's in a jar, diba, meron na siyang sealer. Okay, and about by this particular crisis. Of course, in 2008 and 2010, the three major players of automotive in America or in the US almost crashed down. And during that time, General Motors actually declared bankruptcy. And for a while, we've never heard about Ford until the recent times, that we're able to go back to the market. So that was the downturn of the automotive industry in the US, that they were beaten by the Japanese. Okay, and Philippines, we've been through that, So in 1990s, once again, when I was a child, there is a rotating brownout. So every day you will be experiencing 8 hours of brownout, It's because we lack electricity, we lack the power supply, okay, to support the business and the needs. And that's the reason why there's a lot of companies in the past who have generators, okay, to be able to sustain their manufacturing operations. So what had happened? So the government ventured into a lot of partnership, under the BOT projects, the Build, Operate, and Transfer project. So what I'm trying to say in here is that crisis happens, It's something that we can say it will never happen to us. So it happened, and it can happen in various forms. It can affect a single organization, such as Tylenol. It can affect an industry, such as what had happened to the automotive industry. But it can also affect a country. Or right now, what we're experiencing with coronavirus, the world, So it can come in different forms, And in fact, at this time, I just would like to share that is this still a crisis, Kasi sabi ng mga economists, if you look at the crisis, when you define it or when you try to analyze it, although it will lead to some positive change or some change or reforms that needs to be initiated, okay, you would note that the way you manage things in the past will still work. Okay, but one thing we found out in this coronavirus, and in fact, I always tell it that it puts our BCP into the test. Because when the lockdown came in, we were all surprised. Why the need for a lockdown? Because during SARS, we never experienced lockdown. We never experienced community quarantine. All people need to do is to go on quarantine if they travel overseas. But the coronavirus is different, So, in fact, right now, we need to observe proper distancing. We need to wear masks all the time. So it gives birth to a new way of doing things. So which is why a lot of economists is saying we are now experiencing a structural break. Structural break is actually a phrase no, in economics. It's a time series actually, when the trends and the patterns become is changing variably. No, so what does that mean? It means that in the business, the way the norm that we used to be, no, okay, it's not effective anymore. So therefore, it will give birth to a new way of doing things. And in this time of in this type of setup, no, for businesses, it is very difficult and volatile, because if we are not able to cope up with this, no, okay, we will vanish. The business will vanish. So this is the time for businesses to be agile, no, and to be able to adjust. Diba sabi nga natin, the sooner you're able to adapt to the new norm, the better for the business. So how are we going to survive or cope with it, no? So if we look at the trend, it always boils down to a strategy. So we need to have a strategy in terms of how are we going to manage our business. So we should have a comprehensive response to the challenge, no? So this is not a plan, no? A strategy is not a plan. A plan may change. Okay, if it doesn't work, we change the plan. But when we talk about strategy, it's trying to understand what would be our focus, okay, so that we will be able to resolve the issues that we have. We will be able to go back, no, or understand how we gonna go back to business, okay, and how we gonna cope and thrive, no, against the crisis. So I just would like to share with you a McKinsey and Company research study, no, that was done during the time of the pandemic. And what they've mentioned is that in this particular phase of the business, there are 5 horizons that the leaders need to think and act. And like what I mentioned to you, no, I consider it as a stage. It has its own phase, no? In the first phase is resolving. So resolving is about addressing the immediate needs. What are the immediate needs that we need to resolve, no? That was caused or brought by the pandemic. And in this particular case, now we've talked about employee health, employee safety, and security. So remember mo during the lockdown, di ba? A lot of the companies extended work from home, okay, so that employees would be safe and secure, di ba? We also talk about giving subsidies to our employees, no, or making sure that employees are taken care of during the time of pandemic. So why? It's because pandemic is an issue against life, against health, no? So which is why in this particular stage, we focus on our employees. Okay, and then once we're able to resolve already, okay, the needs of our employees in terms of health, safety, the next phase is to be resilient. Okay, so diba, a lot of the companies are experiencing issues with their cash flow. Cash are going out because we need to pay the bills, we need to pay our employee salary, no? But unfortunately, we cannot collect our collectibles, no? In fact, I have a client, no, who would tell me they have a big client as well, but they cannot collect because it's pandemic. So the next step is for us to address what are the near-term issues, no? Okay, and this is about cash at this time. So which is why it's always best to see what others are doing, but not to copy it, but just to have some point of reference. We need to understand how much are we capable, no, of extending at this time. So, and the reason for that is it's very difficult when we're short of cash, because yung projection nga natin yung pagpasok ng cash ngayon, it will be an issue. Okay, so when we talk about resilience, no, this is about speed and discipline. Our resiliency would be measured on how fast we're able to bounce back, no, would be able to think and decide, and the discipline that we have, no, to make sure that it will work for us. So in this particular stage, no, if we already found the success formula on how to manage our cash flow, we need to have the discipline to do that. Okay, otherwise, no, we would fail. So in this particular setting or stage of the business, okay, we need to have the discipline and the speed to act on things. The next step is return. So what do you mean by return? So it's the phase of the business that you are now trying to plan, okay, how to go back, no, how to start scaling up. So the first stage, diba, we try already to resolve employees' health and then address the issue of our cash. Now it's now the time for us to say, paano tayo babalik? Paano ulit tayo maggagawa ng negosyo natin? Because we cannot always on a wait and see mode. We cannot always tell ourselves, tatapusin natin yung pandemic. Because sabi nga natin, okay, until such time that we develop the vaccine, okay, the pandemic crisis is present. So in here, you are now trying to understand what are your alternative options. For example, for us in the consultancy business, diba? So we know that we cannot run programs anymore face-to-face while the pandemic crisis is happening. So but how can we return to the business? Should we now just wait and see? Or should we now start to educate, no? Okay, or make our clients comfortable with online learning platform. So those are now the alternative things, no, that we should be looking into so that we can return back to the business. Of course, a lot of businesses now are into e-commerce, digital marketing, okay, so that they can start scaling up. Okay, when you go back to business, don't expect that you will already achieve what you have achieved in the past. Okay, so it's a progression. Okay, but what is the most important thing is that you now started operating, okay, and you are now started to implement changes, no, that would make you cope and thrive with the crisis. The last two phase, no, the last two phase of the business is about visualization and reform. So we need to imagine what is the next normal. How is the next normal look like? Sabi nga natin, welcome to the new norm. But what do we know about the new norm? Aside from the fact that we should observe proper distancing, diba? Wearing mask, have we really imagined how is the new norm? So we also need to imagine that in our business. How will our business operate under the new norm? No? So what are the things that we should implement? No, we should be implementing so that we would be able to thrive under the new situation. And of course, when we try to imagine, it will lead us to different scenario, no, that will lead us to reform. I shared with you, diba, the Tylenol story. So while it almost collapsed, Tylenol, okay, it saves the pharma industry by making sure that the medicines that they sell over the counter is safe by putting tamper or by putting a seal. So you cannot do that without the support of the government. So in this space, no, we should be able to lobby, no, or bring to the government what are the reforms that the businesses need, okay, to be able to cope with the crisis. This is now where we should actively participate with our industry associations so that our voices would be heard. So in these two stages, no, so we should be able to say why a new norm possibly look like. Okay? How can we effectively operate under the new norm? And what are the support that we need from the government to be able to thrive? So which is why I always put this triangle. This triangle represents the business, the industry association, and the government. So in the time of crisis, the businesses must link, no? Okay, and must be abreast in terms of what is happening with their respective industry, okay, and be able to share their voice to the government so that the government can enact laws or reenact laws to support them. I understand at this time the government is looking into the tax reform. They're calling it CREATE. So now they're looking at the tax reform to see how they will be able to support the small medium enterprise. And the reason for that is because the industry, no, is pushing, diba, for the SMEs to be supported so that we can continue, no, we can continue to operate. So that's why reimagination or visualizing how the new norm looks like will help us in terms of thriving with the crisis. Okay, so that's in terms of the horizons, no, that the leaders need to think and act. Okay, then as I mentioned to you, no, so as a leader, okay, our employees are looking at us. They're trying to understand, no, okay, what a leader must be in times of crisis. So this is in times of crisis. Yes, Rak?
Yeah, I'm just it's pretty interesting, no? All of the five horizons. It starts with re. That does it mean we have to go back to our strategy and look back on everything because of the, interesting resolve, resilience, return, reimagine, and reform, no? So
Yes.
what does it mean, no? In a nutshell.
Yes, actually, not all businesses have strategy. So
Mm-mm,
go back to your strategy and really ask yourself, will our strategy still work?
mm-mm,
Then we need to start or we need to immediately change our strategy. Because when you talk about resilience, case, diba, sabi nila, it's whoever comes first. But you need to have the discipline, okay, so that when you commit a mistake, you'll be able to learn from it and bounce back. So resilience is our ability to bounce back. And we'll not be able to bounce back until we're able to resolve what are the immediate issues of the business. No? So every crisis, every type of crisis has something that you need to immediately resolve. It's
mm,
just that in the specific crisis that we are facing, okay, it's the employees' health and security that we need to resolve immediately. And I think we did good in that route. So I
oh,
think the businesses overall, no, the employers did well in terms of resolving the issues, okay,
mm,
of employees. So which is now, we're now on the resilience phase. Right? A lot of the businesses now are on the resilience phase. They're
mm,
now trying to manage their cash. Okay, and the businesses were able to come up with a plan to support this strategy,
mm,
okay, the soonest way would be the one to immediately return or scale up. Okay, so that's the thing here, no? So you cannot just immediately return without understanding first how you're gonna manage your cash flow projection. Okay, because we understand at this time, diba? Cash is king.
yeah.
Okay, the
Another,
crisis we're
oh,
facing.
thanks for answering that. Follow-up questions lang before we proceed to the next slides. Is this five horizons is a linear process? Do we have to go to resolve muna, receive?
Yes, we have to go through the phase, no?
Okay.
Kasi we immediately return if we
Oh,
do not resolve the key issues.
okay. Mm-mm,
Okay, so in this particular pandemic, the key issue is people. But
mm-mm,
there are crises, okay, wherein the key issue is the flow of supply. So therefore, you need to adjust first your product. You know, imagine, di ba? Remember, quality issues for manufacturing, di ba, for products. So what they do, they immediately recall all products so that the customers will not be affected. So that's the point here. You have to start in each phases. No, you cannot jump. No, probably you can jump, but you will end up going again to the first phase. Okay,
okay.
which is why it would be good to start, no, okay, to walk on it or work on it, okay, on a first stage level. But you need to be fast.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
be fast on things, no. So, di ba sabi nga natin, adaptability or being adaptive, agile, no, are now the keywords for all businesses because this is really what we need.
That's
Okay.
actually what's in my mind. When you were discussing everything, para I was thinking like, wow, I think the future leaders now, no, should have this kind of agile ability to lead their organizations. Kasi looking at everything na you're presenting, it's something like, um, kailangan agile ka talaga.
Actually, Rak, I always tell this now, no, whenever I speak. There are two traits now. HR leaders must look for a talent, just for a leader. Okay? And these are agility and resilience. Kasi these are what we need more than the technical, no? So even your subject matter expert, but if you're not agile and resilient, no, it will take some time for you. But an agile person, di ba, is very quick. They learn new things very quickly, no?
Yeah.
And this is, I think, this is what we need at this time, for businesses. Okay, so as I mentioned, no, so our employees have expectations of us. As a leader, we must be calm, say,
Mhm.
is under pressure, okay, quality that a leader must possess. Because if we panic, our people will panic. So while we are having anxiety as well, because we're only human, we cannot show it to our people. We always maintain our calmness, no, when we face our employees. We also must be the epitome of optimism. Okay? Not to the point naman, Rock, no, na bobolahin natin yung mga employees natin. But our people needs to see that there's hope. No, that again, as I mentioned, we will be able to try. We will be able to cope up with it. So right now, we might be experiencing birth pains, but this will be part of the process, no? So people must still feel, no, that their leaders are optimistic. We must be courageous because we would be making a lot of quick decisions, no? And we need to make courageous decisions, okay? Because in time of crisis, okay, how quick we decide, no, okay, would also matters. And then, of course, we need to be empathic to our people. We need to understand where they're coming from. But we should be able to resonate our culture as well as we do it. And then, of course, resilient. We need to be able to bounce back. Rak, I will not be surprised if our leaders are on a trial and error phase as well. When you're trying to understand what you need to do. And it's okay. It's okay. Okay, at least we're trying. Diba? At least we're doing something. Okay. And that's where resiliency would come in. But one thing is for sure, we need to learn. We need to learn from past mistakes that we have had. Okay, we need to understand the difference that we are in right now, no? Because in a structural break, remember, there's already a change. Diba? The old patterns do not work anymore. So therefore, we should be able to identify the new patterns. Okay. And then, of course, there are things that leaders must do. We need to continuously express our vision. It's the vision that motivates our people. It's the vision that rallies our people. Okay? And it's also the vision that will keep our people maintain and sustain the morale. Then let us communicate to them as often as possible, no? And as authentic as possible. You know, the good thing about what we are experiencing today, Rak, we over-communicate. I've noticed that to organizations. So right now, more leaders are communicating more than when they are in a face-to-face setting. Because we now have the tendency to think, naintindihan kaya ako ni Rak? Nakarating kaya kay Rak yung communication ko? So now the tendency is to communicate and over-communicate. And that's a good thing, no? At least we're able to improve a skill, no? Okay, brought about by the pandemic. Okay, and when we communicate to our people, while we need to exude optimism, we need to be authentic. And that's the reason why I think you already have heard of it, about the storytelling technique, no, of communicating, especially for leaders, because it talks about genuineness, sincerity, okay, and transparency. And then we must act. Our people need to see that we are acting, no, okay, on behalf of the organization. So I would like to share with you, a lot of leaders are doing town hall meetings right now, no? Okay, and when their leader is not doing a town hall meeting, the employees will look for their leaders. So nasa na yung president namin, but di namin siya nakikita. And I met a previous CEO, and he told me, you know, Vian, if you're not seeing your leader during a crisis, it does not necessarily mean that he's not doing anything. Okay? What it meant is that he's working hard, no? Or probably their business condition is different from the others, that he needs to work doubly, no? To make sure that they're able to resolve the issues that the company is facing. So, but our action must be felt by our employees. They must be felt what the company have done so far to take care of their health, okay? To take care of the businesses. Okay, and then of course, seek clarity. So this is where, you know, we need a lot of guidance from the government, okay? It's always be good to be clear in terms of the boundaries of the law so that we would know when and how to operate, okay? But it's also be clear in terms of how are we going to return, or what's our action points to go back to business? Okay, to be as normal as possible, if I can call it that way. No? It's also good to understand what do we want to achieve at this phase? Okay? But let us not expect that we will just bounce immediately back to the old norm. Okay? So if we still think along that line, then I'm sorry to tell, it may not happen. So we need to make sure that we understand clearly. And then of course, no, okay, let's make our communication, our vision, okay, and our action simple and purposeful. So our people need to feel, no, in terms of sense of purpose, what we're trying to do. Okay, we need to strike a balance now between taking care of our employees and sustaining our business operations. So like what I've always tell leaders at this time, no, when I meet with them, you only need to check every now and then what's the purpose. Okay? Why are we operating the business? And we need to keep on rallying it to our people so that they will be with us. No? So if remember, in this crisis, our employees are with us. So it's not just the leaders who should resolve the issue, no, who should be able to come up with some measures. Okay, let us involve our employees because they also have a share, no, or a take, no, into the business. And when you communicate to them, you would hear a lot, no, a lot of suggestions and recommendations. Okay, and an organization who is able to resonate their culture in time of crisis is the organization that could and thrive, no? So ang last point ko lang, Rak, no, it's let's not just try to survive. Let us not settle for survival, okay? But let us work on how we are able to cope, thrive, no, and overcome this crisis. And I hope you learn something from what I've shared with you in terms of what stages we should be, okay, implementing, no, okay, based on our strategy, and how the leaders must be seen and must act, no, so that they will keep the morale of their people.
Wow. So, well, I'm taking down notes now on everything that you just said. Everything is so clear to me. So, is that the last part of your slides, Miss Vivian?
That's the last slide, Rak.
Ayusin ko na lang to later. All right. So, 5, 4, 3. Okay, so everything is so clear to me, Miss Vivian. So thank you for sharing that. I've learned a lot from what leaders must be and what leaders must do
Yeah.
in managing this managing the crisis. And then the five horizon, no, is something new to me, and I think it will be a great learning as well from our audience and of course for the leaders out there who's watching us. So Miss Vivian, we only have a few, minutes in this show. Um, time flies so fast. Wait, ano bang gusto nating sabihin? Do you have any message or ba? Sorry, kakat ko na lang yun.
Uh, do I still have to share it or better na wala nang share?
May share? Ah, yeah, sige. Wala na tong sharing.
Para mas malaki na uli yung face nating dalawa.
Sige. So sabihin ko na dito, wow, how time flies. Thank you, Miss Vivian, for being our guest tonight. I know everyone can expect more of you in the future where they can reach you, something like that. Okay ba yan, Miss Vivian?
Yeah, then I will just advise they can reach out to me via Southeast Asia Speakers and Trainers.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So in 5, 4, 3. Wow, how time flies so fast. Thank you, Miss Vivian, for being our guest tonight. I know everyone out there can expect more of you in the future. Miss Vivian, where they can reach you?
Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, no? And of course, you can reach out to me via Southeast Asia Speakers and Trainers Bureau. So I've been working closely with the organization, okay, for quite some time already. And please feel free to reach out to them. You can visit their website as well and their Facebook page to know more about the Leader's Edge. Thanks, Rak.
All right, thank you too. Thank you to Miss Vivian, and also for those who are listening out there or watching out there tonight. Do check out the FB page of Speakers Bureau Academy, and soon It will be launched on the YouTube channel and for all the episodes of the this Leader's Edge. All right. So for those who are watching tonight, please type key in no your key takeaway in the comment box from Miss Vivian's presentation today for tonight's sessions. And next Wednesday, our guest it's another leader. No, we're gonna talk about interesting topic about Leader's Edge. So don't miss that great episode next week. Okay, see you again. Same Leader Edge day, same Leader's Edge time. So I'm your host, Rock Leo, and Design Thinker Grow together with my co-host, Dino Santos, saying, learning is a journey with many, many beautiful vistas and never-ending horizon. Until next Wednesday, good night. Thank you, Miss Vivian.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Dina.